Hey everyone, Wolf Lord Rho here. Today we're discussing the death of Leman Russ. General spoiler warning to begin, as the events we're discussing today are from across the Warhammer 40k universe. As always, I really recommend you read the stories for yourself first, without spoilers, as that's the best way to enjoy the lore for yourself. But with that said, let's just jump straight in. When it comes to the fate of Leman Russ, as ever with most of the loyal Primarchs, it's something that's still left somewhat of a mystery. In the embattled days of the Scouring, with the traitor forces pushed into the Eye of Terror, the remaining loyal Primarchs would all fall or disappear from the annals of history. Russ, as we know, departing for the Eye of Terror, promising a return from the boundaries of death for the Wolf Time. As of yet, there has been no sign, no evidence to say if he is alive or dead, save a vague reference from Magnus. With the return of Guilliman and now the Lion, you'd have to say it's only a matter of time before some hint or tease of Russ is revealed. However, while Russ's ultimate fate is yet to be determined, Russ himself was all too aware of how his life would end, and that it was tied to one thing in particular. Now, we know this thanks to the story Wergild by Gav Thorpe. Here, after Russ's suicidal boarding assault against the Vengeful Spirit, where he successfully stabbed the traitor Warmaster with the Emperor's Spear, the remnants of the Space Wolves Legion made a desperate fighting retreat with the body of their unconscious Primarch, ultimately being pursued by a combined force of traitor legions led by Abaddon himself to the Yarant system. Here, surrounded by overwhelming enemy forces, with their Primarch unconscious, still healing from his wounds, the Wolves of Fenris prepared for one final stand. However, it was here that Corax arrived with the Raven Guard. By this point late in the heresy, Corax had begun to feel the weight of guilt for his mistakes. Not slaying Lorgar and Kurz when he had the chance, not remaining on Istvan to face Angron, even feeling the gods of chaos had somehow manipulated him to survive. And he confessed it all to his comatose brother Russ. And so the Raven Lord offered the Space Wolves a chance of escape. With an hour to spare before orbital superiority was lost, they were to evacuate their legion and flee for Terra, while Corax would remain with a portion of his legion instead. Now, of course, the Sons of Russ refused this notion, and it was then that Russ himself would awake, asking Corax if he wanted to die. But most importantly for our conversation today, revealing a particular vision of Russ's own death. You want to die? Corax looked at them all with their war-scarred armour and defiant stares. Do you, Raven Lord? The whispered words from Leman Russ caused them all to turn in surprise. Corax felt his stomach fall away, becoming a dark abyss that he wished would swallow him. The Wolf King raised himself on one elbow and gazed at his brother. Did you come here to fight or to die? What happened to you, my brother? Corax asked. It was a few seconds before Russ replied, rising unsteadily to a sitting position. Nothing that matters now. He reached out, one hand to Amladir, the other to Oki. The Jarl of Fife placed the Wolf King's shield upon his arm. The other hesitated, and Sturgard stepped forward. Would you not prefer your Frostblade, my king? Not today, said Russ. Are you well? Asked Bjorn, his frown deep. You hate that spear. Russ chuckled, But then his face became somber. Do you know why? The night after the Emperor gifted me that footlance, I had a dream. I dreamed of fire and pain, and a storm that would engulf me. I woke certain that I would die with that weapon in my hand. Was that foretelling also part of the Emperor's gift? I don't know, but it seemed to me that I should not ever bear the spear out of choice. So Russ feels instinctively, thanks to this vision or dream, that he will die with the Emperor's spear within his hand. The spear gifted to him so long ago by his father, the companion blade to the one wielded by Constantine Valdor. The blade of Russ's spear departs a revelation of inner truth to whomever it struck, such as we saw with the duel against Horus Lupercal. Now, the interesting thing here is this vision or dream of Russ's could actually be viewed as a sign of his inevitable return, because he doesn't actually have the spear anymore. It's been used and wielded by Wolf Lords of the Future Chapter several times over the centuries, usually to thwart the ambitions of Russ's rival, Magnus the Red. However, if this prophecy is indeed true, if Russ doesn't have the spear, well then he can't be dead. Maybe a little tease and recognition to a Russ return someday if you like. However, it's not an exact science, is it? And the Sons of Fenris do love a good saga or legend of a glorious death, whenever they can find an excuse for one, in fact. It's clear Russ truly did feel that way about the spear, keeping it clear from him as often as possible, refusing to wield it until that final interaction with Horus. However, is it possible he misinterpreted the dreams he received? Well, let's go over that dream again. Do you know why? The night after the Emperor gifted me with that footlance, I had a dream. I dreamed of fire and pain, and a storm that would engulf me. I woke certain that I would die with that weapon in my hand. Well, first things first, it likely isn't the spear itself that caused this dream, as Russ's spear inflicts visions of truth on its victims, those it cuts, whereas it is Valdor's spear that gives its own bearer an illumination of truth. So while you can't say for certain, I'd find it highly unlikely the spear itself was responsible. Russ also theorized that perhaps it could have been the Emperor who gave him the dream. However, I find that highly unlikely as well. Though Russ undoubtedly appears to be one of the more valued and trusted sons, and the Emperor did speak with Russ within visions and dreams before, it's highly unlikely the Emperor would show Russ his own death. And minor spoiler for the Siege of Terror here, but it's laid clear by Malcador himself that the Emperor intended for him and his sons to live in peace after the Crusade, that he truly grieved for the deaths that had already come. Once the Siege series finally finishes, that's definitely something we'll discuss in depth. However, for anyone new to the channel, I'm not talking Siege of Terror spoilers in depth until the series is over, so everyone can safely enjoy it for themselves first. But it just doesn't sound right that this was an Emperor-gifted dream of Russ's death. Even in the unlikely situation that the Emperor would do that, I would expect him to be present within Russ's dream to explain the situation to his son, which he had done previously and would again after the end of the heresy. So what else? Could it perhaps have been mistaken interpretation? fire and pain, and a storm that would engulf me. Could it be a reference to Russ's future quest within the Eye of Terror? Could this storm engulfing him actually be the Eye of Terror itself? Could the storm even be the reason that Russ has not returned from the Eye? Maybe rather than wielding the spear being a sign of Russ's death, it was actually meant to be what gets him out of this situation. That Russ actually needed to be wielding the spear when the fire and pain and storm arrived. Maybe Russ can only return to the Imperium when he's reunited with his spear. That it's wielding the spear of Russ that will help him break this storm. Considering he's believed to be somewhere within the Eye of Terror, I think that certainly sounds possible. We know the Emperor's power is anathema to the powers of chaos, and a portion of the Emperor's essence is contained within the spear's blade. What an epic return quest that would be, the Sons of Russ journeying into the Eye to reunite their Primarch with his spear. What an addition to the Ragnar Blackmane novel saga that could be, a saga of novels that I would absolutely love to see continued. Of course, it's all just theory and speculation, but it could certainly work. And Russ has been known to interpret things wrong before. That's always the danger when it comes to interpreting fate. Maybe it could be far more simple. Maybe it was a symbolic dream of his contest against Horus, one that left him very much on the brink of death. Maybe, quite simply, it was just a dream. The Primarchs are still human at the end of the day, if not more than human. Their traits elevated to god status. They dream just like anyone else, so maybe Russ is simply looking for meaning where there is none. One thing's for sure though, the spear of Russ has been intertwined with the Primarch since being presented by his father, and the Emperor does nothing by mistake. If or when the Wolf King does return, I wouldn't be surprised to see his spear not too far away. And I also wouldn't be too surprised to see the spear being integral to his story. But as always everyone, what do you think? What do you think this dream of Russ's truly meant? Was it a sign that the Wolf King will die wielding the spear of the Emperor? Was it instead a sign that maybe he's going to need the very weapon one day in his future? Could Russ right now be trapped within this storm he foresaw, awaiting the arrival of the spear to break the curse? Will Russ return one day with spear in hand? Will we see the Sons of Russ attempting to reunite their Primarch with this weapon? Or at the end of the day, will it simply be a part of the Wolf King's legacy, left in the days of the heresy? As always everyone, leave your thoughts in the comments below. Huge thank you to all my subscribers, your support truly means a lot to me, it really does. If you're new, please consider subscribing to help the channel grow. And if you enjoyed this particular vid, then why not drop a like on it too. But with that said, I am off, and I'll see you all again real soon.